Good morning. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners special call meeting of September the 8th, 2023 will come to order. Welcome, citizens of Douglas County. County Clerk, will you please take the roll for the record?
Yes, Chairman. District 1 Commissioner Ricky Dobbs.
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Madam Clerk, present.
District 3 Vice Chair Torinia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here. We have a resolution to approve the Douglas County Board of Education's 2023 millage rate. Do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? No discussion. Prepare to make your vote. Are we going to raise our hands?
Electronic.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. That motion carries. We have a resolution to approve the Douglas County Board of Commissioners 2023 millage rate. Rosalind Miller will present.
Good morning. Yes, today is adoption day for the 2023 millage rate. And as you may recall that we've had 3 public hearings. We had two on August the 22nd and one August the 30th. What was presented at the public hearing was a proposed millage rate of 12.563, which is the same millage rate as it was last year. So that is what's before you on the resolution, is to adopt Douglas County's millage rate for 12.563.
Yes, sir, Mr. Robinson.
No, that's it?
What do you need, Commissioner? I could provide you with whatever you need. You want more information on the millage rate? How much revenue over last year? Okay.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Carthen.
Good morning. Tell us a little bit about, because I know we're here to adopt the millage rate, but tell us why you're recommending what you're recommending, and then what is the rollback rate, so that people will have those two to compare.
Okay. So I'm recommending keeping the millage rate the same, because as you are aware, you've been hearing about the reinvestment plan for our human capital, aging equipment, assets. This millage rate, if you adopt it, it will generate 5.6 million more revenue than last year. And we're anticipating to use this 5.6 million for the reinvestment plan. And also, you're aware that raises were provided to the employees for 2 years, but it was being funded by ARPA. So in 2024, the county will also have to take on the overage of salaries that ARPA was funding. The rollback rate, Okay, the rollback, rate is 12.256. And it will generate 2.6 million.
So with the 2.6 million, if we roll back to the rate that the tax assessor's office has given us as a rollback rate, which is where we will collect almost what we collected last year, the investment plan, we would have to be slowed down in order to do a lot of the things that you, the staff, have brought to our attention.
That is correct. We would have to cut from that list.
Okay. And rolling back, what would that give the taxpayers or the property owners?
It will compare to what's proposed, the 12.56, off of a $250,000 home. The difference is $25.
Is the median home price in Douglas County $250,000?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. If we roll back, the 2.6 million will go towards the reinvestment plan, our human capital, but we'll still have to cut some things in order to make the budget fit our policies.
That is correct.
Do you know how much Douglas County grew, or the new growth rate?
The new growth rate, I wrote it down. I did not write that down,
Okay.
but I want to say the new growth rate was like 2.49, and the inflation was a lot higher. I want to say it was about 14%.
And I think, thank you. I think that's where I grapple, right? Because I'm a taxpayer too, so I want us to roll it back. If I'm gonna be real honest, I want us to roll it back because I need the extra too, because inflation is eating us all up. It's a double-edged sword, right? We as homeowners, we need to capture as much as we can because of inflation, but then we as the government pay the same things that to run this county that, you know, homeowners pay to run their houses, right? So it is really a double-edged sword. $2.6 million does give us a little bit of cushion if we roll it back, but inflation will eat that up, and then we'll still have to cut things that you guys are asking us in this budget that's to come. So, Chairman Miller,
Yes, dear.
this is hard, but I am going to move that we do a rollback rate of 12.3 as the millage rate to set for this year's millage rate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is it improper for me to ask a question at this point?
I yield. Yes. You have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, Mr. Robinson.
All right. It's how y'all approach this. You're asking me to make a decision on the millage rate, but you didn't give me any details. We had to ask questions. It's about transparency. Like, what is the Reinvestment Act? We're talking about things, but we're not showing it. Right? Where's the detail?
You're asking.
I get it. I'm trying to balance myself on where I take this. Because you asked me to make a decision on the revenue. But subsequent to that, you've got all these expenses that you're about to raise the budget. It's like I'm being dealt my hand. I don't know enough. The public doesn't know. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I was actually gonna propose 12.25, but I'll go with 12.3. I'm good. I yield, sir.
Anyone else? What does 12.3 get us to, Miss? Can you tell me that? You got your calculator?
Yeah, I actually, right. Yeah, I did a few numbers, and I did 12.3130 only because it was just like a even number of a difference, like 0.25. So the millage rate at 12.313, you would generate a total, and this includes a non-property tax. You would receive a total of 128.9 million.
And at 12.256, what's the number?
You would generate 28.5.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
128.
128.
Oh, 120, thank you.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait a minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much, yes. 128.5
Okay.
million.
Now, it's my understanding, in all these meetings that we've had, is that we, as a result of the assessed value, we're supposed to collect about 5 million more, 5 to 7 million more than we did last year. Is that correct?
That is correct, 5.6.
And the vast majority of that is going for sheriff's department raises. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
So, which, that's what we want to do, folks. We want to first of all, we want to be able to hire 50 to 60 people to get the sheriff back to where he needs to be. Having been a sheriff, I know a little something about that, and the jail itself has to run. It's not like a zone where you could leave a person out for a night. You got 700 and something people in jail there, and these people, Sheriff, how many employees are you short in the jail? Do you know?
Total 46, I couldn't tell you.
Okay,
The majority of those is in the jail.
okay.
And there's 771 in jail.
To try to explain to the community, what that means is that the people that are left there, they're having to work weekends, overtime, nights, hospital duty, and they are not spending any time with their families. They don't have any off time, and as a result, they're quitting, the ones that are left. So it's imploding upon itself. So we don't have a choice but to get salaries competitive to where we can run the jail. We've seen on TV surrounding jails that are in terrible condition. If you go look at the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, and I'm sure it's the same when I was there, it looks a whole lot more like a hospital than it does Fulton County's jail. And that's no disrespect to Fulton County. The sheriff's doing the best he can, but he don't have the money, and the commissioners aren't giving him the money to do that. So I am glad that we're able to increase the salaries. I'm glad that we're able, and I know that most of you in the community would like for us to cut the budget back more, but in order to accommodate necessary things, the most we could cut it back to is about 2 million off of the total budget. I would agree with the 2.3, Vice Chair Carson. Commissioner Robinson. Dobbs, I'm sorry.
Instead of, could we do, I don't know if this is the right way to do, but instead of doing the 2.3 flat, could we do what you recommend with the 2.313 to make it a whole number?
Yes, that would be great if you could.
So I will accept a friendly
No,
amendment.
Yeah.
Amended.
Yes. So I'd like to amend it to go to 12.313.
So, and that still cuts us over 2 million?
Yes, and it's
Okay.
just it's just the E, that's the
Yeah, I
only
know,
reason why I
it's
did
changed,
not.
but
Yeah,
it
I did
changed the
all.
people of this community,
Yeah.
so. Okay,
Got your friendly amendment? You accepted it?
I did. I accepted his amendment.
I still second, yes.
Okay. I think we have a motion for 2.313. Huh?
You're
12
giving a
point.
real
cut.
I was really cutting the budget.
Right.
12.313 millage rate. Do I have a motion? We already have a motion. Do I have a second? We will vote, I guess.
We'll do a hand vote.
This is a hand vote. All in favor of, raise your hand. All opposed, same. The motion carries. We have a business item to approve, the Douglas County Forward Reinvestment Plan Phase 1 and amend the 2023 budget.
Good morning, Chairman
Morning.
Miller, Vice Chairman Carthen, Board of Commissioners. So we come before you today. I will tell you I'm very excited about presenting this Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan to you for your consideration. I would just at this point in time want to thank our executive team, our directors, and all the staff that provided information so that we can compile this information to bring before the Board of Commissioners today. We will start off with a very short video just giving some basic information about the Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan.
The Douglas County government will invest $100 million over the next 36 months as part of the Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan. Guided by the county's strategic plan, the reinvestment plan will align with the priorities set by the Douglas County Board of Commissioners and feedback provided by Douglas County citizens. Investments will be made in the following strategic goals areas: public safety, infrastructure and facilities, economic development, and quality of life categories such as recreational facilities and programs. The Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan will be funded from property and sales tax, SPLOST dollars, and federal and state grants, including the American Rescue Plan Act. The Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan will further our mission to deliver superior public service while moving our vibrant and thriving community forward and setting a national standard of excellence.
Okay, so as stated in the video, this Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan will be a multi-year plan. The purpose of this plan is basically it's developed to meet our citizens' needs. This reinvestment plan will ensure that our citizens can see their tax dollars at work. And this is important. So when our citizens go to their parks, into our county facilities, when they're driving on the roads, when they are using our senior centers, our libraries, and in attending any of our quality of life programming and cultural activities that we provide, we want our citizens to see their tax dollars at work. This reinvestment plan will focus on properly maintaining all of our capital assets, and more importantly, investing in our most important asset, the over 1,200 employees who come here every day to work diligently for the citizens of Douglas County. This plan will allow Douglas County to be competitive and attractive to employees and make sure that we are competitive in the region, not only for our general employees, but most importantly as well for our public safety employees. Our purpose for this plan is to make sure that we are setting the groundwork for our community and ensuring success for our community for many generations to come. So as stated before, this plan is definitely aligned with our Douglas Forward Planning, our Community Future Together strategic plan. We use the input of our citizens to develop that plan, and we also use that input in working towards developing our reinvestment plan. As stated in the video, this plan will provide a reinvestment into our community of $100 million over the next 36 months. So it is a multi-year plan that we will be working with. As stated in the video, areas that will be focused on for this plan will be public safety, infrastructure, facilities, economic development, and quality of life. This plan will be presented to you in 2 phases. The first phase is being presented today, and the second phase will be presented at our next Board of Commissioners work session on September 18th. Part of phase 1 is an investment in our workforce. And at this time, I will ask Danielle Nichols, our Director of Human Resources, to come forward with information regarding the investment.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Madam Vice Chair, members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you this morning. So I want to take a few moments to walk you through phase 1 of the reinvestment plan, which is investment in our workforce. The objective of HR's proposal with respect to reinvestment in our workforce is to further expand the county's efforts in forging forward with making certain we can keep pace with inflation and illustrate good faith investing in our workforce as we prepare to engage in a full-blown class and comp study. So we are looking to address market competitiveness, improve our ability to attract and retain talent, and develop a more competitive compensation structure. I am pleased to highlight some of the key components of the proposal, which is offering a competitive compensation plan for public safety that includes raising the starting salary for the jailer and deputy sheriff roles. Another major highlight of this proposal focuses on the general population, which is to incrementally advance the salary structure and provide adjustments based on tenure and compa ratio. So for those of you who may not be familiar with that term compa ratio, it is simply the measure that expresses the current pay rate at a percentage of the salary range. This approach places a priority focus on the frontline workers of our workforce, and essentially our compensation at the lower end is not competitive in the marketplace, and raises have not been commensurate with the market, meaning the raises that have been introduced over the past couple of years. So this approach will assist with salaries reflecting close to what inflation has been in the past couple of years. So I want to take a moment to delve a bit further into the proposed compensation plan for public safety. We are proposing adjusting the starting salary for the jailer to a notch below $52,000. So what that means for us is when we evaluated 13 municipalities in the metro area, the county currently ranks at the bottom with a starting salary just below $44,000, and you can see that illustrated before you. With the proposed amendment, or with the proposed adjustment rather, the starting salary would elevate and raise the county's ranking to the second most competitive of our competitors. Moving on to the deputy sheriff's role, we are proposing adjusting the starting salary to just below $58,000. The county currently holds the 10th spot out of 15 municipalities in the metro area with a starting salary just below $51,000. The proposed adjustment would push the county to the second most competitive of the comparators with a starting salary of just below $58,000. The proposed effective date of these changes would be September 30th. And the estimated salary investments will come from general funds and other funding sources is about $5.3 million. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Assistant County Administrator Tiffany Stanley Stewart.
Thank you, Director Nichols. And as stated before, this $5.3 million salary investment will be focused on public safety as well as provide raises for our general population as well. So this will work to help make us continue to be attractive and competitive to employees in our region. Next, we will talk about investment in capital. So we're bringing before you today also an ask for an investment in our capital assets. We are asking for $5,117,000 for infrastructure for things like transportation, for vehicles for our Department of Transportation to do road repairs, to make sure that we fix things that citizens care about, like potholes, making sure that our roads are smooth and people can move effectively around the county. Another ask that we are asking for is for public safety, for $2 million for our firefighters, for self-contained breathing apparatus. When our firefighters go into buildings and fires and different situations, we want to make sure that they are safe, and providing this funding will make sure that they have what they need. Another ask is $721,585. This is for general government, for things that we need to make the government function. One of the things is a mandate for the state for election equipment that we'll need, that's been mandated down from the state. And then last, we are asking for $575,000 for cultural, recreational things like the library facilities being improved and vehicles for Meals on Wheels. So the total ask for phase one is $10,018,894. As stated before, we will come back for phase two, which will focus on capital assets at our next Board of Commissioners work session on September 18, 2023. So at this time, we will yield for questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Alvarez.
Good morning. So this first phase investment, talking about general purpose, this also includes, just for the public to know, that this also includes our firefighters' raises, correct?
That is correct. And I'll let Director Nichols. Yes, so of course the priority is public safety. In terms of what I presented, the firefighters are included in the general population. I would like to note at the beginning of this year, the fire department received a substantial increase, so their increase will not be as substantial and significant as the sheriff's department.
Correct.
In terms of the proposal.
Yes, I just wanted to be, so our constituents know that this also includes the fire department as well.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, and what is the percentage of the raises for the sheriff's office? What percentage got us to that 51?
So, starting with the most critical role, the jailer role, that will result in over 18% increase for them. And then it decrements downward, so the deputy sheriffs will then receive a 12.6% increase. And then from that point, it will decrease even further to 7.2% for all others in that department.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that information. I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vice Chair? Carter?
So, public safety is, of course, paramount, because to be in this county, we all want to be safe, right? So we bought houses here, we've invested here, we have our kids here, so we definitely want to make sure that we have a safe environment to live, work, and play. I don't want it to get lost at the Board of Commissioners prior to my other three new colleagues who are here with us today, who weren't here with us last year this time. I don't want it to get lost that the prior Board of Commissioners, we did invest in our public safety. It was a jump even last year to bring up the pay, right? But even in doing that, you showed us we were still at the bottom, even when we brought it up. So now doing this will put us right at the top under Fulton County, which has, quite a significant amount of population in comparison to Douglas County.
Yes, it will. So I definitely did not want to infer or indicate that the board had not taken some tremendous steps prior to now with pushing or expanding our investment in our employees with respect to salaries. But I think the critical issue is we have not been keeping pace with inflation.
Right.
And so while the work that we did in the past couple of years has been phenomenal and it has helped, this is just pushing us closer so that we can hopefully get to a point where we can pace with inflation.
Understood. And I did have a talk with our chairman, who was a former sheriff, and he did explain to me why he was asking and working with our new sheriff to get those to get those people, the sheriff's deputies and the jailers up to par. In doing this though, Chairman and Sheriff Pounds, can't come back to the well because the well will be dry. The well will be dry. We really will be working on fumes moving forward. I'm hopeful that inflation will go down, but I'm also hopeful that with this increase in pay, if my Board of Commissioners agrees to this, that we will attract men and women who will want to invest here, work here, stay here, and grow with this county. So that is my hope, that although we are not as big as Gwinnett, Cobb, Fulton, we will be at the top of the pay scale. And I'm hopeful that, you know, with training and of course with the sheriff's culture over there, that we will attract the very best so that Douglas County will continue to be safe, and maybe we'll even become safer, right, in the near future. So I'm hopeful with both of you gentlemen's leadership, we're moving in the right direction. I'm going to have to trust that we will, right? Great. My other question, though, and this may not be for you, Ms. Danielle. Tiffany.
Yes, ma'am.
We have some requests in this budget
Mm-hmm.
that were not there last year this time.
Okay.
And one of them is the DC Museum 2023 agency allocation of $100,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know this agency allocation is not a department. For all of the others, I see animal, fire, E911, I see BOC, fire, Department of Transportation, the library, senior, election, risk and safety. We even have IS in here for new vehicles, right? But what I see is a non-agency allocation for the museum. And in the past, in order to have transparency, and I know this is prior to my 3 new commissioners who are up here, we wanted to ensure that any third party or any of our partners in the community, which the DC Museum is a partner, it's not an agency with us, that they go through the new application that we put in place in order to get funding, and that was for transparency. So can you talk to me a little bit about why this is coming up? Because I know they asked last year to be put in this year's budget.
Yes.
And the prior administration decided not to because there needed to be some revamping. Now that I see that it's back on here for $100,000, I'm just wondering why.
Yes. So the request, the museum director, Ms. Hudson, did make a request for $125,000. And that request was made in January of this year, after the funding was not put in the budget because the board stated that we wanted to do a study on the museum, which that study has been completed, which makes a lot of recommendations regarding changes that need to be made at the museum, sweeping changes that will really change the character of the museum and things of that nature. In discussions with Ms. Hudson, she has alerted the administration that she is running out of money in order to operate the museum. And so this request is an attempt to keep the museum going, so we can get to a time where we can really look at that report and really make those changes that need to be made to the museum moving forward. And the request that she made was for $125,000. However, the recommendation is for $100,000, which will allow her mostly operational expenses. There are 7 employees at the museum, 4 who are part-time and 3 that she contracts out with. And the bulk of this will go, $85,000 will go for that expense. The rest of it is for exhibit expenses, $66,900, some business expenses, business registrations fees, $250, and then of course some supplies, $3,000, things of that nature. So that is the request. So we're bringing it forward because she's stating that in order to operate, she needs some funding since she was last awarded, I believe, $75,000.
So
a
last
while back.
time we awarded her, I think it was 2021.
Yes,
$75,000.
Yes.
So now the request is $100,000, or it was $125,000,
Yes.
and I'm assuming whoever decided, you guys recommended $100,000.
Yes.
I'm going to have to take a page out of my new chairman's book and says, we can allocate as little or as much as we want to. And since that museum is not a department, and we know that there needs to be some sweeping changes, I'm going to ask that we allocate half of that requested amount. So instead of the 100,000, I ask that, I move that we allocate $50,000 to that agency, partly because we know that there needs to be a lot of renovation and a lot of what was put into the report for this museum needs to be done. So I don't want to give 50,000 extra for that when we know other monies need to be spent in there to bring it up to standard. I absolutely love what Miss Suzanne does over at the museum, but as with everything else we've talked about this morning, reinvesting, bringing things up to par has to be done even with that. Even though it's not a department of ours, you know, that museum is it's a staple in Douglas County, and we want to help her to keep it going. So I'm going to move that we do $50,000 as opposed to $100,000, given that we just rolled the millage rate back, and work with her. I'm hopeful that you and others will work with her to bring about the changes that are needed, and we may just need to put it down part-time as opposed to a full 100,000 where she wants to operate it at that level. But that's my recommendation for that. And then my last ask is regarding the library facility improvements, $300,000, and that's coming out of capital. That's not coming out of the SPLOS.
Okay, so the finance director is telling me that $300,000 will be for all of the 3 libraries that we currently have, and so that's why she's choosing to take it out of the capital.
Out of the capital as opposed to taking it out of SPLOS. And what facility improvements are they requesting for for all 3 libraries? All 3?
Yes, it's a lot of minor things that need to be taken care of. I know, and my memory has got to serve me correct. I know there may be some small roofing issues, a fencing issue, some things of that nature. Dr. Gilchrist is here, maybe.
Okay. And then while Dr. Gilchrist is coming up, my very last one, and then I will yield, Chairman, is the DDS project for $275,000. I thought we were done with that. I thought we wouldn't have any more asks, so that will be the one after Ms. Gilchrist, and then I will yield.
Good morning, Chairman,
Good morning.
members of the board. Yes, for the libraries, it's just some minor improvements, carpeting, additional flooring, painting, furniture, those types of items for the libraries. And it's for all 3 of our libraries.
It's for all 3 of them.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know you wouldn't know this, but I'm going to assume that the new position in here for building inspection at $44,268 will help us in the future to not get to a point where these types of things have been overlooked.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That for the building inspection?
Mm-hmm.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So that position's actually an HVAC kind of a specialist.
Okay.
So I'm sure you all know Mark Price, who runs the courthouse.
Yes.
He'll be retiring next year.
Okay.
He is currently the HVAC specialist for this courthouse. So we're wanting to go ahead and get somebody in that he can kind of mentor all of the structure of this building, because
Okay.
it's very
All right.
complicated.
Okay.
And not just hire somebody kind of on the fly. And we all want our air conditioning, right? So.
Yes.
So that's kind of the goal of that. It will be a general maintenance and also HVAC specialist for this facility.
It will be a general maintenance. Okay. Wonderful.
And then as far as DDS goes, yes, I will be bringing back the final proposal. Basically, what we have continued to run into is unsuitable soils out there. The work on our end is complete. So this really will be the final ask when I come back, but it will not be more than 275. It's looking like it'll probably be more around 250, but I don't have that number 100% set. We're still negotiating over a few things right now. So basically, this is an unusual circumstance because this is a joint cooperative project between the county and the state. And the state has multiple departments that are included in this. So they have the state GISFIC, and then they have the DDS, so they have kind of their property ownership. And they've kind of each got a say in it, but it's coming out of our checkbook, so
Exactly.
to speak. So, so their inspectors were demanding certain things, and the way our agreement was set up is that, you know, they kind of get to say yes, yay or nay, we need this done or that's done or whatever. So there's been a lot of cooperation, I guess you could say, but the work is complete. I'm waiting on the final bill. It will be under that, and this will kind of end our
I'm going to hold you to that.
needs.
All right.
I promise I don't want to come back with any more for this one.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
yield, Chairman Miller.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Commissioner Dobbs?
Yes, I want, could you pull up that slide again for the sheriff's department, like with the deputy?
Let's see.
I just wanted to see.
The deputy slide, this one.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I just wanted to look at it, and just make a comment that,
Okay.
you know, one day, I feel like, you know, we should strive to surpass the competition, because in law enforcement, because of the call to duty, it is gonna be money that talks, because if I'm putting my life on the line and going somewhere, I wanna know that I'm gonna be paid, and then it's also the morale and then the benefits as well, because if I'm putting my life on the line, knowing if something happens to me, I want to know that my family is being taken care of too. So I just wanted to make a comment that's all the things that we have to compete with, and I think we should strive to be at the top. So just want to make that comment. Then the other one is about the library. I mean, not the library, the museum. Just that question of you said that 85,000. It was you. Right. You, I'm sorry. I forgot who was talking. I apologize. But 85,000 was the mark for just the personnel, for the people and their pay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, and I just wanted to make sure I had that number right as well. So that's all I really wanted. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Alcaraz?
What needs to be done at the museum? Why the 100,000? What all needs to be redone? Yeah, I hear you saying it needs to be restructured,
Yes.
but I'm not understanding. I mean, is there things that she needs to? Is there work she needs to have done there?
So I think it's an overall, just look at what the county's desire is for the museum to be. And I think after bringing in, so we brought in Kennesaw State University, we contracted with them to come out and make an assessment of the museum. And a lot of the, and we will make a presentation to the board with this assessment, but a lot of the assessment just basically talked about updating the museum, maybe looking at more space, maybe looking at moving some of the county departments out, maybe working on having a more diverse collection. Also making sure that the staff we had was trained in curating objects and things of that nature. So it would be a very broad look at the museum, but it would be up to the will of the board of what direction we go in. And I think that in my discussions with Ms. Hudson as well as Ms. Cottle, who has been working with me in this process, I think everyone's in agreement that there are things that need to happen. It's just what needs to happen. And it's going to take, even with that report, a deep dive in how much money the board is willing to invest into the museum and what we see the museum being as a county. You know, is it just a space where people come? Is it an event space? Is it is it a lecture space? Is it, it's just a lot of things that we can do with the right funding and the right policies behind it.
Okay, so she needs 85,000 for salary. So I just leave her 15,000 for regular operations.
Yes, and she has detailed 105,500 as what she has listed that she would need, but I think the recommendation is $100,000 for this 2023 budget cycle.
And we have a lot of school children that visit that museum all
Yes,
the time.
there are
Yeah.
tours for the schools.
Okay. I would hope that my colleague, my vice chair, would please reconsider and you know, I would like to see that stay. If we dropped it down from 125 to 100 for her to try to assist, especially after this study was done and everything that they came back with, what we're going to have to do, I would like to see it remain at 100,000.
You done?
I yield back, Chair. Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
So I do hear my colleagues, and I do hear the 85,000 request. Again, that museum is voluntary. It is an asset that the county owns. We own the museum. We own the whole building. It's the county's building. It is our asset. The museum portion of it, which is ran by Ms. Hudson, is something that, you know, we don't have control over. We have asked her, and I know you probably don't know this, Commissioner Alcaraz, in the past, to please consider getting grants. What else are you doing to bring in revenues for the museum? We've also asked her, like, where is the money that you collect when you actually take in fees, right, from those events that you hold? We've asked about the things that are being sold out of the museum that's not being, you know, it doesn't come back to the county. So I think sometimes, although I know you don't know this because you're new, and I appreciate, you know, the love of the museum. I like the museum as well. But in order for the county to really hold on to what we do have and then revamp it and make it better for everyone, I think we need to slow roll this allocation to 50,000. I really do, because she can open it up part-time and still get the things done. Prior to you coming on, I think 2 years before, we only gave her 75,000. So, and she was able to run it. We only have 3 more months left in this year, this physical cycle. So to give her $100,000 for 3 months, to me, just doesn't make sense. I'm just a businesswoman. I'm just trying to ensure that every penny that the taxpayers give us, including me, is allocated to the positions and to the areas that we need it the most. If we're paying a new position of building inspection $44,268, but we're giving a museum, which is a voluntary role, $100,000, please help me to make it sense to those who are going to ask me about this, which I have been asked about that museum before I even became a commissioner. What will you guys do with it? So I hear you, but I also know, and I'm going to state what I said before, and I've heard my chairman say this, we can give as little or as much as we want to, and if something does not fit in the budget, we should not force it, especially since we just rolled the budget back. I yield.
Anyone else?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, quick question. With the history that Vice Chair just gave me on that, how much have we given her this year?
Can't hear you.
How much have we given her this year?
Nothing.
We have given her nothing.
Yes.
Okay, and so she has managed to operate this museum all year long with no funds from the county?
From my understanding, that is correct. I know we haven't given her any funding, but I don't know how she's operating.
So okay, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, that she's got no funding from us. She's operated all year long, and now she's coming to ask for us for the last quarter of the year, ask for $100,000.
Well, she has been asking. It's just that the board said wait till after the study before we would even look at any funding sources.
Okay. All right, I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Roberts.
All right, let me get in this conversation. Okay, real quick. The $2 million for the fire apparatus, is that coming out of SPLOS?
That is coming out of the Fire EMS Fund Capital.
And not the SPLOS?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, we'll let that go. Move on. Let's go back to the sheriff. Is the sheriff still here?
Yes.
I'm sorry, did we quit talking about the museum? Did we change the subject, or can we stick to that and then go to your comments? Would that be fair? Or?
No.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't in motion, y'all didn't vote on it.
Yeah.
No, I just want to talk about it too sometime.
Okay. All right. Sheriff, have you seen the proposal, and are you in agreement with what's being presented?
I have. And that's why I'm here this morning to personally thank each and every one of you for the increase. And it's been a long time coming, but my guys stood in the gap and worked around the clock. If so, if they was making $100,000 an hour, because they had crime to solve, and at that particular time, money didn't matter. We got a problem that we're trying to get solved. We're keeping our crime on, I ain't gonna be like the chairman, but we're keeping our crime out of Douglas County. And that take people's, and I'm 46 short, and I can't tell whether it's 10 on the road, 20 in the jail. I don't know where they're at, but I know I'm 46 folks short. And today, living in today's time, law enforcement just ain't popular, and it ain't even safe no more. So everybody seemed to be running away from law enforcement. And one of the main issues is salaries. You can't expect me to put my life out there on the line and pay me a dirt road deputy salary. So I stand here today so grateful to each and every last one of you for what I sit there and heard y'all talk about. I really do. But it's one small mistake at looking at the thing that you asked me about, Kelly. Dispatch. We left dispatch completely out of the equation. If you look at this thing you just asked me how I looked at,
Good morning, Sheriff Pounds.
Good morning.
They're not omitted from the proposal. They are actually included within general population. So I can give you the exact figures for that, but they were not excluded.
okay. Because if they're certified to me, and they are, every last one of them post-certified, some of them is actually deputies, which would get this because they deputy sheriff. But I didn't see it included in mine what I was reading that Commissioner Kelly asked me about, but you made it straight. I understand.
Okay, and I can definitely get with you offline to go in further detail so we can look at the specific numbers related
Yes,
to this
ma'am.
method,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I yield back to you, Mr. Kelly.
All right. So my question is, why not 60 versus just 57 or 58?
Why not 60?
Correct.
Kelly, excuse me, Commissioner, I fought for 60. I really fought for that 60. And still would love to have it. But then you have to get to a point where you got to be grateful for what you can get because time continuing to go on. And like the vice chairman just said, the bucket is empty. And I can thoroughly understand that. That's why I'm so grateful that what happened with the 57 happened. I would love to have 50. And for that much, I'd like to have 64 for that go, but I'm trying to be grateful because y'all was grateful.
The only reason I asked, because this conversation really was about the sheriff. The proposal has added the entire population. We had sufficiency to accomplish 60. I was clear on that. 60. That was the priority. Now, I get how they didn't frame this. I'm just sitting here, I gotta chill myself out. I'm like, really? Really? It was about public safety. You don't get my vote by slipping in the general population. That wasn't the priority. You got a lot of general government in that thing. A lot of general government. I don't see really none of my other elected peers in there. I gotta pause for a minute, but 60 is okay with you?
Yes, sir.
We'll see how this process works out. Okay, so, HR, finance, what would 60 do? What would be the impact of going from the 57 to the 60? Yeah, I know I was gonna ask this. Yeah, she's ready.
Let her rip.
Commissioner Robinson, we can definitely generate the numbers and get back with you. I don't have that information right now, but I'm not really certain, so I don't want to speculate what that would do to the budget.
We're making a decision now. Today. Yep. Y'all supposed to have scenarios. Now, you're new. It's okay. Roslyn, what would that be? What would be the impact? Somebody's got to help us with this. We're making a decision now.
And Commissioner Robinson, I'll offer deference to Dr. Corbin so that he can opine and provide some insight.
Commissioner, I would respectfully like to request time to provide, if you want that number, we don't want to speculate, and we certainly don't want to guess. What I can tell you is it's going to go up, right? The pool of dollars that will be necessary to fund to get that number to 60,000 is clearly going to make our budget go up.
Understood.
But I would prefer not to speculate on this particular issue. And we're not going to have a number for you in the next 10 minutes. I don't want you to leave, I don't want to leave you with that impression.
We got to do better than this, though.
No, excuse me, sir.
All right. Maybe.
No, excuse me, sir. We don't have to do better than this.
This is not going to
We're doing the best we
Dr.
can.
Corbin, let this go. That wasn't my point. When we come in this exercise, y'all normally would have scenarios, spreadsheets, because we got to go through the process. We have to debate right now. You're dealing my hand because you don't have the capacity. Your construct is not supporting how we do business up here. These five. Okay. The board. No, I'm okay. My point is, I'm trying to, we sitting here about to start saying, are we going to debate this? Are we going to do the museum or not? Are we going to do 60 or not? That's our process. That's the legislative process. I'm going to put it forth. Either it goes or it doesn't. I would like to know what the fiscal impact. I said that in my last meeting, that I'm in on 60. Are y'all paying attention? Are y'all not polling the board to see where they're leaning? I just met with y'all, all 60 of y'all, and told you, well, okay, I'm leaning toward that 60, but it's not even here, as if my vote don't matter. Well, I'm gonna show you it do. This was important. I mean, I'm trying to work with my peers. I'm hearing their heart, but don't tell me that I can't put forth what I'm about to put forth. Never gonna happen. This is our process. This is not a staff meeting. All right, I'm gonna yield for right now. I'm good. Mr. Chair, I'm gonna yield. Thank you.
Thank you. You've been around law enforcement, what, 40-something years?
47.
That was myself. In your lifetime, have we ever been second in salaries to the metro Atlanta area?
Next to last.
So,
This is the first time.
so do you think that this is a fair and, well, I'll go a little further. You think this is a more than fair raise for the people that work at the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, including the 18% that the jailers are getting, 12-something% that the deputies are getting? And if you raised it to 60, wouldn't you squeeze the difference between a patrolman and a sergeant and a lieutenant and a captain? Would that happen?
It will. But based on the way you said it, Chairman, it's fair. It's fair, very fair. They don't necessarily make it right, but it's fair. And I said that.
So you think this is not right?
This is what I'm saying, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We must stop chasing other agencies. They're gonna make more money than us because they got more money than Douglas County. We understand that.
Who? Fulton County, and they need combat pay.
But what I'm saying is this: I put my sheriff's department up against any office in this world.
I agree with you.
I will.
I agree with
But
you.
in order for me to keep top folks to do that with, they got to get them top. They got to make top dollars. And like I told you in the beginning of this conversation, Chairman, I am so grateful that you get me up to 57. I'm proud of that. But I'm like Kelly. I can't sit back here. I can settle for 57. I can. But that ain't what I wanted to do. But that's what I will do, just for the barrel being empty. Now I believe in my soul. Everybody up there on that board know, and especially you, Chairman, because you've been in the seat that I'm sitting in today. If there was a way to get to that 60, I don't believe too many of you gonna fight it. But to answer your question, Kelly, I would love to have a starting salary of $60,000. And we all had talked about it at one time, even you, Chairman. And I
Yeah.
understand what you told me.
Yeah, last time you and I talked, you agreed with what we were offering, and you said you accepted that and you liked that, and you're so proud to have it. If I'm correct,
You are very correct.
Okay.
And I stand tall and said it again today.
Okay. I appreciate you,
Thank you.
and you know that.
Yes, sir, I do. And I appreciate all of y'all. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
You did, you. Okay. Getting back to the museum, we have a travel and tourism bureau, and why is the museum, which I believe there's 6,000 visitors or something a year that show up there, correct me if I'm wrong, why don't we pay for this out of the travel and tourism? Just a question. I'm new here, as you said.
So I believe that was a decision the Board of Commissioners made maybe 2 or 3 years ago to give the funding, direct all that funding to DCTT, and then allow DCTT to distribute the funding as that board saw fit to all of a lot of our agencies that provided tourism and different things like that. So
How much money will we give the Board of Tourism? Anybody know?
it's about $250,000 a month.
A month?
Yes, according to our finance director.
And we can't afford to give a museum that houses Douglas County's history from, I guess, at least the early 1800s and gathers 6,000 visitors a year. We're always promoting Douglas County, come visit Douglas County. It just seems to me that we would pay for that museum out of travel and tourism, because I don't know many other event places. Of course, we have a new amphitheater, which we're real proud of. And we have a couple of state parks, but there's not a lot, you know, compared to some other counties. There's not a lot of historical places for people to visit here in Douglas County. So the museum, I think, ought to be one.
And so our finance director chairman has just informed me that we will be funding this request out of the unincorporated fund, which it comes from the hotel motel tax.
It comes from the hotel motel
Yes.
tax? Well, that's good. I guess my speech was wasted.
I apologize.
I had it so, I mean, I was into it too.
I apologize, Chair.
Uh,
I apologize. We do retain some of that funding for the county, so it will come out of that same pot. It just won't come out of the pot that's going to DCTT.
So, maybe I read is it Kennesaw State that I read what they were suggesting, and they have a lot of great suggestions, but they also cost a lot of money in order to implement. So we need, as a board, to get together and figure out, you know, what's the best way to handle this thing in the future. I don't know if you'll agree with me agreeing with you, but I think that 100,000 or more for a year for the museum is fair. I don't see, I think 50,000 for the rest of this year would be fair. But as long as we fund it next year for what we agreed to earlier, I'm okay with that. I don't know if y'all are or not. But Commissioner, did you like that? How about you? Do you like that? Kind of not.
my suggestion.
You said 50 forever. Okay. Everybody in agreement with that? Is that well, I guess we ought to put. I'm
Chair,
so lost.
I mean, Chairman.
Do we have a motion?
No, Chairman, I just
No,
had
sir. Hold on a minute. We got an attorney down here.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to state something for the record that some of the new people may not be aware of, but the donation is listed as a donation to the museum is not something that we can legally do. we're not allowed to make gratuities. What we can do is enter into an MOU with them to provide services to us in exchange for an amount of money. And so, to the extent that they are not an agency of the county, we cannot appropriate money to them unless we have some public benefit. And the MOU, which is what we've done for other agencies, sets forth what that public benefit would be. So whatever the amount is that the board decides upon, it's going to require us more than likely, I'm going to look at the relationship a little bit more, but it requires more than likely to come back with an MOU setting forth what that public benefit would be. I want to make sure I said that for the record. I think I've said that in the past for others, but I want to say that here.
Thank you. So we've been violating the law all these years?
No. I'd like to state that we did have an MOU in place for the prior,
Oh, we did have one?
yes, for the prior services provided by the museum, and that is the intention this time. We are just, would like for you guys to appropriate the funding, and then we would develop the MOU, and that would come back before the board for your approval. But today was just about getting the overall reinvestment phase one passed, and then we would definitely make sure that we do the MOU, which would also include reporting requirements for the museum to provide reports on what they do with the funding as well.
Totally agree with that. Okay.
Chairman, I just had a question.
Yes, sir.
Tiffany. So with the DCTT, they collect all the hotel tax and stuff, and we, as a commission, prior years, you say about 2 years ago, made the determination that they see fit on how you choose to use it.
So there's a portion of the hotel motel tax that goes to DCTT, and Rosalind, you may have to correct it, 60%, do you know that percentage? 66% of those funds go to DCTT. We retain the other percentage in the county, and we distribute that funding. So right now, the agreement that we have with DCTT is to give them the 66%, we retain the other percentage, and then we allocate that funding as the county, as the board sees fit.
Okay, and then, so in other counties, just for my awareness, do the travel and tourism and the museum, do they fall and kind of like work together?
And I would think so. I would have to do some research. There are all types of strategies. We do have some like local cities, like I think Bremen has a museum, different people have museums. So I would have to do some research about how that's being done and get back to you. But it would be beneficial for the community, for tourism and the museum and any type of, attractions to the community to work together. So we can get people to come to Douglas County or any county.
With it being a museum and travel and tourism, I feel like the museum is a part of that. And then I thought they worked together anyway. When I took in a tour over at the museum, DCTT has a big kiosk thing out there.
Yes.
And it's pretty fascinating to see. And I think, and this also is a question, it's an idea and a question in the same.
Okay.
That we should be able to have them work together. So is that something that we could potentially vote on to kind of have them work together?
Well, of course, that's a policy decision at the will of the board. But I do know, and my memory just jogged, there are instances where they do work together. I know that DCTT provided some funding for a sign for the museum and some different things like that. So they do work together. But how that relationship is aligned, I would have to get further information from the director, Ms. Hammonds of DCTT, and Ms. Hudson, and provide that information.
If, say, for 66% goes to that, could we then put or vote for a percentage to go to them or no?
That is the will of the board. That is a policy decision that we would have to look at. Yeah, we'll have to look at the policies.
Okay. All right, Chairman, I yield.
Thank you.
Questions?
Anyone else? Do I have any motions?
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the Douglas County Forward Reinvestment Plan Phase 1 and amend the 2023 budget with the change to the DC Museum for the rest of this year to $50,000, and to amend the starting salaries for deputies to $58,500, and all percentages fall accordingly.
Second.
the starting deputy salaries and all fall accordingly.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Are we voting by raising our hands, or are we, okay.
Yes, sir. Raise hands.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You want to discuss?
I do want to discuss, sorry,
do
Chairman.
too.
So the motion on the floor is to raise the starting deputy sheriffs from 57,171 to 58,1. Is that the proposal?
58.5.
58.5.
58.5. But we're going to keep the jailers at the same rate?
No, all percentages, everything change accordingly to the same, whatever percentage change from 57,171, whatever that percentage change is, to all be accordingly to
So
the
it has to be
jailers, to
staggered.
everyone.
Wait.
I'd have to know what that number is before I'd be willing to vote on it.
So since I have the floor, Rosalind, if you will, come to the podium. So help me and my commissioners understand raising it to 58.5 as was motioned. What would that do?
So we took a look at the 60, but I can go back. But if you just raise the minimum salary at 60,000, it'll be 350,000. However, if you raise it and then everything applies, meaning you want to keep your grades and steps, that's over $1 million. Because you would have to adjust everybody. And you're talking, about over 300 some employees. So it'll be over $1 million. And if you just raise the salary, then you're going to mess up your classification and your grades. And that's, that was approved by the board. That's what we're following.
I understand. There's a motion on the floor. I would ask my commissioner to please pick up your motion so that we could possibly table this and get it to a number that we all can agree with. So, but that would just be my suggestion, but I'll yield.
Chairman? No, we got, still in discussion. I just see this as we are sitting on, what, Rosalind, $50 million, correct? In fund balance? In fund balance currently, we're sitting on 51.
Yes, but you're going to adjust it by $6 million today.
Understood.
And you've adjusted it a few. The remaining for your fund balance would be $35.2 million after this, if the board approves what's been presented, the reinvestment plan. And then your capital would, from $9.3 million, would drop to $3.2 million.
Okay, and so we're looking at still bringing in, with the changes to our millage rate at 12.313, you said we'd bring in, 5.6 more million than we did last year?
If the millage stayed the same, but for the 12.313, it's about $4 million.
Okay, 4 million. Okay, so that still gives us, we brought in 7.1 million last year in our fund balance, correct?
It was 5.2.
5.2. Okay, so we're still looking at an additional 9 million. So the funds are there. We've got the money. And I wouldn't put my life on the line, to be honest with you, for 58.5 a year. I wouldn't. And I hope that my peers think this as well. I understand what it's going to change, but the number one thing that our constituents said to this board on that survey was public safety. That was the top priority. We got deputies. I'm not going to go into it because I'm sure the sheriff don't want me to discuss what we do and don't have and what is hurting his department. But I want that department full. Not only that I want that department full, I want the best that we can get. I don't want to settle for just anybody. I want us to get the best. 58.5, the move that we have, everything that we're doing, there's somewhere, if we need to cut somewhere or look for some savings, we can find it. But my sheriff's department's worth it to me. And my motion is going to stay as is.
The budget, the 50 million that you have in fund balance, that's not reoccurring, is it? That doesn't put, if we took money out of that to pay for this, wouldn't we have to, I'm sorry. Next year, we're gonna have to pay for it out of taxes, right?
That is correct.
So that's gonna cause us to have to raise taxes again next year.
That's correct.
Or it's gonna head us in that direction. Okay. Where are we on the motions? I forgot. Go ahead, Mr. Robinson.
No, thank you. Thank you for doing the calculation for me on the 60. That wasn't intended to be hard. We're trying to make real decisions here. I'm still back to the 60. I'm willing to work with my colleague and stuff, but I don't like the nickel and dime. I'm consistent for 15 years. If you're going to do it, do it. You don't buy anything by shaving a couple basis points. Whatever. You're going to do it, do it. Be done with it. Be courageous. Be strong. Here's my other issue that I have. Was like, no, but I'm looking at this. This was only supposed to be about public safety. Now, y'all came with this whole for everybody else, which means we would have had enough to do the 60. You would have had enough. That's when I'm like, this thing is shifted. I mean, I don't know if I really supported everybody else right now. Maybe at the first of the year, but not now. That was not the priority that the public, that I've been consistent about. I don't agree how this has been structured. I mean, that's my position. It's like, okay, this is, and it's putting us in an awkward place because, guys, we got to pay attention to this. Watch. No, we don't have to cut now. You're going to squeeze y'all capacity going forward. That 6.5 go drop down to 2 or 3. Budget holes. Administration. Ain't gonna give you no hand like that. If we dealing hands. No way. What we're doing right here, we're about to slow everything down. We took care of the employees. We took care of them. We cared. We're gonna slow down though, guys. You ain't got much to work with in the future until it catches back up. We rolled it back. We raised it. There's nothing in the middle to work with. Be very thin. That's what good. That's it. It's that simple. Do y'all understand what we're about to do? We've already made a decision to lower the revenue. Just a little bit, but it still matters. We decided to put this big chunk in here, in addition to all the employees, which I don't agree with at this time. Right. Y'all see this? That means you got less capacity in the future, less discretionary. Your base is going to be your base. I get it. Right? Your fix is going to be that. But your decision making, your discretionary is about to get, ain't too many, you don't have too much to work with. Leave it at that. I don't have to go long on this one. I'm very clear on this. I yield. Thank you, Rosalind. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The thing that I hear most from the people of this community is that they're tired of their taxes being raised. I don't want to raise their taxes, and I want to take care of law enforcement. It's near and dear to my heart. Whether we raise their salaries to 57 or 60, they're going to be better off than 95, 8, 9% of all the people in the metro Atlanta area that work in law enforcement. So I feel like we've accomplished that with the 57. And if it's $1 million, Rosalind, is that what you said, or more? I guess that was at the 58.5. If you go to 60, I guess it's probably $2 million. That falls on the backs of the taxpayers, folks, and they're screaming at us. They're hollering for us for help. I know we want to grow Douglas County, and we want to do all the things that we can as administrators to make sure that everything's coming to Douglas County, but the people of this community, they feel like, especially with the way our property was assessed this year, they feel like we're breaking their backs, and they want some help, and it's our job to help them too. It's our job to take care of law enforcement, and we have. We've got it to the second highest rate in the metro Atlanta area. If we're gonna give them 60, let's give them 100, okay? Because at some point in time, we have to be reasonable about what we're saying. And we're being reasonable with law enforcement, but we also need to be reasonable with the people of this county. And that's all you get for a quarter. Anyone else?
Chairman.
Yes, Vice Chair Carthy.
Thank you. I'd just like to remind this board, and I know, again, I keep prefacing this because I don't want my colleagues to think that I'm dismissing them. But we do have a policy, and our physical policy states that we can only spend 98% of what we bring in the prior year. So if we take it up, we will actually be over that policy, which means we're going to have to go in and cut a whole lot because we just rolled back the rate. So you have to take into consideration what Chairman Miller has done. He has been working with C.A. Corbin, Danielle, and Ms. Roslyn to get this to a point where and the Sheriff Pounds to get this to a point where we all can coexist. To take it any higher would be us having to come back and ask the taxpayers next year to increase their millage rate. And I, for one, will not do it. And that means a lot of people may be cut next year. And I don't want to see any of the people who are sitting here in this room not have a job next year. I hope my board hears me very clearly. We have a policy to stay in those lines. Let's do that and give the sheriff what he needs and help the taxpayers, which all of us sitting up here are. And with that, Chairman, I yield.
Do we have a motion and a second on the floor?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Rose.
Yeah, we get the budget, we get the policy, but they're amending it, right? You can't amend it. It's adopted versus amended budget. Now we can go look at the policy and look at the words. They said that once we adjust it, now it's 98% of what we about to adopt. Somebody, Rosalind, somebody clarify for me. What does the policy say?
Well, we've been following the policy as the 98% of revenue that you received the prior year. If you do it based off of the amended budget, you're going to be even worse off, because just as we're amending it 1.6 million, normally you would have to have recurring revenue to cover that 1.6 million that you're about to amend the budget.
So why are we doing
98,
this?
so
I got it.
Okay.
So again, this is only supposed to be about the sheriff. Y'all put everybody else in the thing. That threw everything off. You had enough to do the 60 with the million. You had another 5 million with just the rest of the staff. Like, really? That's blown it out of proportion. Y'all talked to us the other day, it was somewhere between 124 and 130. Maybe about $5-6 million. Now it's up 9? What? Sleight of hand. I just, again, that's what's throwing us off. All of the employees. That was not our conversation. That has not been our priority at this moment, nor none of our conversations. That's what's throwing this thing off. It's throwing it off right now. So I'm still back to 60. I get it, because we could have got it there. And it'd been less of a burden. Yes, you're right. We got to carry everybody else and the sheriff. That was not our conversation. All right. I yield.
Chairman?
Thank you. So,
Chairman?
yes, sir, Mr. Alfred.
Roslyn, going up to 58.5, will we still remain in our budget?
it would be a part of the amendment, and we're going, for this amendment, we are going into fund balance. So, yes, just as you mentioned, we have, well, 35 million, so it would be taken from that number.
Will we remain in our budget?
No, come next year, you would not. Because even what the board has done with the millage by rolling it back some, you're still gonna be short over 2.5 million. So in 2024, we're gonna have to cut the budget, find something, because it's coming in now, and we're still, receiving budgets and reviewing it, but it's over 130 million already, the budget. And remember, the new millage rate will be 28.9. And if we have everybody's wish list, what the 24 budget is now, it's 132 million. So if we add, the raises, it's going to be even higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I yield for right now.
It's your rebuttal.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, so to this point, right, that's why you don't want to set the millage rate without knowing the details. Like, right, we lowered the millage rate. Right, we got rid of revenue. But y'all stuffing this with everything else in here. I'm like, look at this. I say cut out, I say leave the sheriff, the 58.5 that's on the floor, and get rid of everything else. Now, if we got rid of salaries for everybody else, because that wasn't a conversation, does that put me back in the black? Pause.
Yeah, you would.
I'm saying I will pause it for some time in the future.
Yeah, if you remove the general population's increase, it's over $1.1 million. You would be removing that and replacing it with the sheriff's. But we would recommend if you do that, then, you adjust everybody in the sheriff's office. Because if not, you'll mess up your grades and your staff.
Will we be in the black? Will we be within policy?
For 2023, yes. For 2024, we would have to look for cuts.
Again, so why are we putting this $5 million of general population in here? Why is that on the table? See, the conversation really was just about the sheriff, guys. We got this big reinvestment act. Like, okay, where's this coming from? It's too inflated. Y'all could have waited to the budget. We're already in September. Wait till the new budget. We'll take all this up. But y'all putting us in an awkward place by trying to slip this thing through here. I don't like this. I don't like it. If it was just about, we're supposed to set the millage rate, talk about the sheriff, and be done. This thing has evolved since the retreat. Now I get the attention. I'm with staff. I get what y'all are doing. It's about priority. That wasn't a priority right now. That was not the priority. Stay focused. Don't chase shiny objects. No, guys,
So,
I yield back, sir.
yes, sir. So, you didn't know about other employees getting raises? All you were talking about is sheriff's employees, is that?
That's what I originally started with, but I just found out the other day when they met with me. But again, I just got the detail.
Gotcha.
They're telling me this, they're giving me a narrative.
Yeah.
Show me the data.
Gotcha.
Sheriff, I'm sorry, Chairman, can we call the question?
We can. Tell me how to do it.
You gotta help them out with this.
Huh?
Say it again.
Call for a vote.
You can call for a vote.
I can't hear you.
Call the question,
You-
call for a vote.
Okay, we have let's be clear about it. We have a motion. Remind me of what the motion is, sir.
Here's the motion. And I'm going to amend my motion some to compromise.
Point of privilege.
Okay. Then here's my motion. My motion is drop the DC museum to 50,000 and then raise the sheriff's office starting salary at 58.5 and adjust all percentages accordingly.
That's the motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah, I already gave a second. You were just restating it for you.
Okay. All right, I guess we call for a vote. All in favor? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion passes. I'm trying to figure out where we were, folks. I don't even know where I am, I don't think.
That's it, right?
That's
We're
it.
done.
We ready to adjourn? This meeting is adjourned.